So I'm out here on the side of the road, just looking for whatever there is to find, I guess, you know. I tell you, it's a weird world out here right now. In a lot of ways. I don't know if it's better, if it's worse, but it's certainly different than what it used to be, you know. I'm out here doing my penis therapy, by the way. Let's see. My penis therapy, by the way. And I tell you, I think people are really repressed. I think they're really repressed, man. I think they're neurotic, and I think I'm not. Well, I may not be as repressed as some people. Maybe some people just come off as repressed, a lot more repressed than they actually are. But I'm certainly neurotic. And as far as porn goes, it's a different day these days. You know, with the existence of porn, like internet porn and shit. You know, I remember before they had the internet, believe it or not. And I remember when they came out with the internet, and it wasn't. I don't remember it, but I heard about it. They came out with it, and they didn't really know what it was going to do and what it was going to end up being. But it had something to do with the military. You know, it's like some military thing. They were using it for the military, and the next thing you know, it started catching on in the early 90s, or in the 90s, sometime in the 90s, for the general public, you know, the World Wide Web, and here we are, then the rest is history. But there's some crazy shit going on out here, you know? By crazy, I mean, probably shit that's been going on ever since the beginning of time, or since human beings have been doing what they've been doing, you know? But being able to see what human beings do via the internet, like, I think I put in a playlist. I think I did put in a playlist. What was the playlist? I think it was, I forgot what it was entitled. I think it was Money Don't Matter Tonight as well. Maybe another playlist I put that in. Yeah. She's being really tough on the women or something like that. She's being really tough on the women. I think that was the name of the playlist. Some chick was going on about women and being tough on them, talking about the internet and how they're doing things on the internet. And like I said, I remember a time there wasn't a fucking internet. So now the internet's out, you're starting to see a lot of shit on the internet. It doesn't necessarily mean you're seeing what people are really about. You know, just like porn, that's not what it's really about. It may show you a glimpse of what's going on, or some porn can be very realistic, you know. It could just be like, hey, just roll the camera and let's do what we naturally fucking normally do. But a lot of that stuff is about big time production shit, like a big old production, unless you well fucking know, you know. I'm saying things have gotten really weird, you know, in a way that you can say it's not the way it was intended to be naturally. I'm not saying we weren't supposed to get here eventually, but things used to be much different, you know, back before you had photographs and cameras and all that shit. And once that came into play, I mean, wow. People started understanding what it was to perform for a camera. You know, when the cameras are rolling. You know, just to this day in the United States of America, you know, somebody puts you on camera and they say they're doing something. Like I remember I went to Las Vegas, Nevada back in 1999, and they had some show on at the time called Street Smarts. And you get on there and they'd ask you some questions about something or another, and you're supposed to answer the questions in a very particular manner, style, and fashion that you answered them, right? And I was walking around the Sahara back when they had the Sahara Casino Hotel then off of Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard. My first time, you know, over there. I'm over there in 1999, you know, for the first time in Las Vegas. I'm walking through there and I've got an energy, I guess. So the guy calls me over there. It's like, hey man, you. He said, you know about Street Smarts and blah blah. He's like, yeah, I've seen the show or whatever. It's like, hey, well, come on, be a contestant on there. Long story short, I fumbled in front of the camera when the cameras was rolling. I was like, you know. And I watched myself miss that opportunity, I guess. Not that it was a big deal. Then he called somebody else in there to see what they had to do and how they would do it. I was 24 years of age at the time. So I guess my point is, I'm just sitting here thinking about the cameras, you know, how it's changed things so dramatically over the course of human history. And how porn and everything else on the internet kind of serves a purpose in a lot of ways. You know, it's on how you approach it and look at it and view it. So I'm not going to try to demonize it, because I'm curious to see what goes on in the world that in situations where I may not have an opportunity to see that in another situation. Recently, I've been watching women take dumps on the internet. That is something I've never seen in my life, a woman take a dump. I've had a woman take a dump in my presence one time, but it wasn't actually in my presence. She went to the bathroom, which was not that far away from where I was sitting at the time, left the door open or slightly ajar, cracked or whatever, took her dump, you know what I mean, and half-assed flushed the toilet, and that was about my experience, was seeing something that this is usually of a very personal and intimate thing that you really don't want to share with someone else, you know, like that. But she shared that with me, that much of it anyway, with me that day. So, I mean, you say, well, that's freaky shit. Well, that's what I'm talking about. You're being repressed. Because there used to be a time when people were just out in the wide open, believe it or not, and they weren't wearing clothes. If they were wearing clothes, they were wearing very little clothes. And if they naturally went someplace to go and relieve themselves away from the crowds, it makes you wonder how that got to be in the overall scheme of things throughout the course of evolution. If you believe in things like evolution, there must be some kind of evolution going on. I believe there's evolution taking place right now. No matter how the evolution is taking place, with Cryon telling you that children are being born differently than they used to be born in their psychology. Light workers, indigos, rainbows, crystals, so on and so forth. And just, I don't know what's going on with everything else, you know, but it seems like the psychology is changing, however that's taking place by the Almighty, or whatever case happens to be. So that's evolution in my book. I'm calling that evolution. Maybe it may not be Darwinism, but it's evolution. So I guess my point is, there's really, if you believe in evolution or not, I don't really know, but I don't see anything unnatural or perverted, really, necessarily. It's kind of how you approach it with everything, and so how you approach it, you know, it's not necessarily what you do, but when, where, why, and how you do it, you know, your perspective and all that shit makes a big difference. But I think it's I'm not going to explain everything about it, but for me, it's something I need to process. And it's not the real thing, but were it not for the internet, I guess I'd be out there having to do a lot more to get to see the real thing, right? So it's a substitute for the real thing in the meantime. And it's something I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. So I guess I don't really have a scat fetish or something like that, but I do want to see a woman take a fucking shit. And that's whatever you want to make it out of, whatever you want to make that out to be, but that's what the internet is. I remember crying with the Lightworkers Handbook. He made mention of the internet and said, well, a lot of things are coming out right now that you've never seen before, and so on and so forth. And a lot of that has to do with the internet. So I study the internet. I study it quite a bit. You know, I've got my AI and I'm rolling. And having said that, yeah, so the woman was talking about on the video I put up there in my playlist that, you know, women are this and women are that. Women are all kind of things, you know what I mean? Maybe she's watching the internet too fucking much. That's got its own little world over there. They call it the World Wide Web for a fucking reason. So don't get it twisted, and I understand that shit. I'm not obtuse. And maybe some other people catch up with that as well. It gives you, well, shit, you already know this shit. You're not stupid, right? Let me put this away. Well, check it over here. Just get ready to blow the fuck off. And that's what I'm doing right now. I was supposed to fade out, I guess, but I don't know. For whatever it's worth, I guess I'm still making videos about just random stuff for now. My intentions initially when I came out making videos was to accomplish a certain set of things, and they kind of transitioned, it kind of morphed from where it began. And I ended up getting obsessed with really trying to convince people of the evidence or the relevance of aliens, Cryon, the light workers, and all that kind of jazz, you know what I'm saying? Then I got obsessed with trying to convince them that the government follows me around, the Pentagon follows me around, and all that kind of jazz, you know? So I don't know, having felt like that's pretty much been done, you know? I'm just chilling.